it shall be cheaper per day. It's not true. So you have to maximize your timing. If there is any way you can extend to 6 days, yes, you can. But try and keep it to 5 days for a 60-episode microdrama. Anything that you need to do to get you to the point where you know that you're going to leave this set at the end of 5 days, please do it. Because that's the way it works.
I mean, once you go past that, your budget also goes up, and everything must be paid attention. And I think the whole idea is to be surgical in our approach. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about once production is done, the next thing that happens is editing, which is what I think is like the holy grail of microdrama, and a lot of emphasis has not been given to it. Can you speak a little bit about editing and how it plays a major role in microdrama?
Editing will make or break your microdrama. It's a simple truth. It will make or break it. And sometimes, if the director has done everything, kept to everything, and you ended up with bad editing, your project is done. It's as simple as that. Now, your editor must go through training. Must. Your editor must go through microdrama training. Of course, you have people that will study the format, but there's so many things. Your editor must know what to do. Oh, he's working with the script. He understands that something is missing. What do I take to fix it? Now, you're going to find out as an editor in microdrama, there is a lot of cut and join. But cut and join is only effective when you finally have the instincts. And the instincts can be learned. If you find out the instincts for microdrama, you learn the instincts. That's when you learn how to. This is missing. What do I put here? How do I elevate this emotion? Because remember, people are going to stop and watch because of the content that you have placed. So your decision making as an editor, the whole project is on the editor's head. One of the things that we had, decisions that we had made as well in commissioning these projects as well, is in finding out that you definitely need to prioritize even your DIT on set, start assembling a lot of these things while you are on set. So by the time the editor picks it, the editor should, on average, not have more than 2 weeks to complete the microdrama. When they get very good, they can complete the editing in a week or even less. But it comes with practice. It comes with doing a lot of microdrama work. That's when you get into the point where you immediately you see it, you're able to work. But if you've done everything well and you do not have a good microdrama editor, the project, you have wasted money. That's the truth.
I mean, from your experience supervising editing for like typical movies and supervising, I know you were very active in supervision of BMB. You gave feedback a lot on it. What's some of those lessons that you saw that were a bit different in terms of feedback? I know that one of the things that I might even bear witness to, I remember we spoke a lot about sound and sound design, and we spoke a lot about, like what you mentioned, ensuring that the main characters. Can you speak to that a bit?
Yes. So every single thing is, I think sometimes because it's a minute, people do not understand the work that goes into that 1 minute, especially in terms of sound. I think if you're a producer or you're in film, go back and watch one microdrama and tell me what you notice when you play the sound. Tell me what you notice in terms of background noises, in terms of music, what other elements. There are so many things, but if you have your sound bad, because some people make the mistake of thinking that it's a mobile phone, I don't need to work on the sound. That's a huge mistake, especially when you're submitting to global platforms. So sound is very key and crucial. It starts from when you're on set, and it's completed that way, but sound is crucial. Your effects, your sound effect, your soundtrack, your what else? The audio, when you choose to go up, when you choose to go down, all those things are important. They can make or break a project. It's the same way, how does she look when they're about to, the first kiss that we have been waiting for, and you put the wrong sound. It will affect it. as little as we think that, it won't. But in microdrama, I'm looking at my phone and I've been waiting for this moment. You can destroy the moment for me or you can make the moment for me. So sound is so important and is one of the most overlooked. And sound, just like major projects across any format, sound can make a platform reject your project 100%.
Okay, so let's talk about packaging of the story. We know that packaging is very, very important, whether people choose to watch or not. So can you speak a little bit about that, from thumbnail design to UA editing? What is that, and how has that played a major role to helping BNB deliver on its mandate?
Yeah. So I'll start with UA editing. With microdrama, I don't think people are aware that there are two types of editors. There's the general editor that edits all the microdrama, and then there's the UA editor. The UA editor is a user acquisition editor. His job is to create those clips that will make you to download the app or to go from there. There are two different specialties in microdrama. In submitting that, in doing your trailer and everything else you're going to do, it's important you also work with a UA editor, or that you learn UA editing as an editor. So that's another specialty. It's very, the UA editors and editors and UA editors, they pay very well on a global scale. You can work from anywhere in the world once you are a confirmed, editor for microdrama. So that's important. Your poster is very important. In fact, when you're submitting, the way that we work, when you're submitting, you have at least 3 posters to submit. Remember that you're doing a lot of digital, so we're testing. We're testing out thumbnails, we're testing out posters, so it's very important that you put enough to push with. There are still images. You have to do your subtitling. You have to do, what else? There's a lot to submit. Your general raw file, subtitling. You have to submit all the sounds, every single thing. You're submitting a full package that is very thorough for microdrama. So from the beginning, when you're commissioned, you're given the full list of what to do, including technical specs, every single thing that you need to do to make sure that you've submitted a proper microdrama. All those things must be done. You can't just produce something, like we reject posters a lot when posters come in. It's a process. It looks like I'm finished. No, poster making is very important. And yeah, it's a huge part of the process.
So you've started speaking about packaging it, but let's talk about distribution a little bit. What the distribution landscape currently looks like. How was the experience with BNB, and what are your expectations like going forward? And what are the opportunities? Because I think most of the filmmakers in the room will be thinking, yes, I'm willing to learn. Yes, I'm willing to come take this training. But what are the distribution opportunities? We all know that in the typical space that we are familiar with, what we've done so far, there are issues around distribution. Is that the same bottleneck we're experiencing with microdrama? And how was your experience with BNB and all of that?
Yes, thank you. So for microdrama, when we started and we were, pitching our work and our projects, the first thing that you face globally is you haven't proven yourself, right? You haven't proven that you guys are already consuming global microdrama. Why should I bother to create microdrama that is out of Nigeria? That was the first bottleneck that we faced. We were able to overcome that by showing them figures from some of the work we've done, especially from numbers on YouTube, to show that it's not just that there is an African, there's African data around consumption. There is also diasporan data and global data around consumption of African content. So that first part was checked. In terms of distribution, yes, we're actually building that out brick by brick. Our goal has always been to act like a sort of pipeline that ensures that at any point when you are creating microdrama in Africa, we are able to provide the talent, the infrastructure, the resources, the know-how, and the platforms in its own way to ensure that those things are happening. So currently, we are able to do the following. We are able to license.
Sorry.
Thank you. We're able to license, and it means if you have a complete microdrama, it can be submitted for licensing. It's very, very hard, however, I must tell you, to pass that because it must be done in the Duanju format. Part of why we're able to get these relationships is because we have proven to them that, we have trained in this format, we understand how we understand commercial decision making, and not just African or Nigerian commercial decision making, is global commercial decision making. So when we see your project, we must review it against those things to make sure that what we're submitting is able to pass the standard globally. So yes, we do licensing, we do commissioning as well. Platforms come to us and tell us to commission projects, so that's another thing we're able to do. The people that benefit from our commissioning as well are people that have gone through our producer pathway. So once they're done, they're now eligible for commissioning. To be eligible for commissioning, you must come with a team. Your team must be the producer, the director, an editor, and a scriptwriter. However, there are certain parts that you can say, okay, can we use somebody from one of your cohorts? We're fully able to do that. We have some platforms, for instance, that have come, they have a story, they have everything, and they say, okay, bring your team, let your team come and shoot it, or come and train our team. So we also train teams as well. We train teams in microdrama, and that allows us to license, to commission, to distribute. I think we've seen maybe 1 or 2 projects. Sometimes we have projects submitted to us. The projects are properly done, but they're not quite there yet. So we go back and tell you, you need to edit this to this spec. This doesn't work. Fix this, fix that. But it's very unlikely. Yes, but we're looking forward to, because we also know, how creative and effective we can be in producing microdrama. We distribute across the entire continent as well. We have teams in countries like South Africa, in Kenya, in Ghana, in Zambia.
So you're telling me there's a demand for microdrama from platforms?
There is a demand for microdrama. The releases, our current releases, and even the crazier ones to come, which are
in the pipeline.
You love these, but they're going to be released. They're even better. But with each one, we now have people that are excited to get our content. But at the same time, it's our responsibility to make sure that the content that we put out meets up with the standard that we have already set. So if it needs to go through more editing, by all means, it needs to go through more editing. If there's some type of supervision, we can review scripts, we can do a lot of things. There are platforms that the only thing that we did for them is script writing. Some people commission scripts. We've been commissioned for 20 scripts, for instance, for global platforms. They're not African stories at all. That's the benefit of the pipeline that we have and what we're building out.
So I think I would like you to touch a bit more on this 70 million views that we have achieved so far. Why is it relevant? I think it's important that the audience knows that at the beginning of this journey, people were asking, can Africans do microdrama? Will people watch it? There were many questions. We had a thesis, we had an understanding, but maybe you should speak a bit more about that, Omar.
Yes, so totally agree. I think some of what pushed the needle in all the conversations we were having, was that we went down and we said, okay, we've worked on YouTube, for instance. We know how successful it is. We have data there. We have some behind-the-scenes data from channels. So that helped to move the needle in showing a lot. In showing what? In showing... Sorry, I didn't take my cough medication, so I don't sleep on stage. That's why I'm coughing. But I will take it at the end of the day. So for the platforms, we had to show them that there was a demand for African content. Yes, YouTube is, 16:9, is not that, but we also show them data from people watching vertical films or people watching vertical content, skits and all of that. We put all those things together to prove, and it was not a one-time journey. There are times that you'll be in meetings and they're just listening to you because they have to be nice. And they're listening to you and you're talking, but it took a lot of knocking on doors, a lot of the relationships that we had to get to that point. And then most of the people that we are working with have never worked in Africa before. So you can imagine that it is a huge risk for them to come and invest in whatever they're investing in here. And it was important for us as well to get that global presence to make sure that we're taking seriously from the get-go and nobody's saying, oh, it's just local content that people, have no choice but to consume. So we had to do that, and the second and the most important thing is we had to make sure, first of all, in terms of the facilitation and the structures we use, listen, nobody pays for our training because we select the people. However, out of those selected cohorts, if you want your own type of training, in fact, our first cohort came together. We were launching in May, and they said, we don't have time to see whether we make your 300 African filmmakers cut. Train 20 of us in microdrama. And we trained 20 of them, and we have some of the best facilitators globally do the training. It's a full curriculum. It is very thorough, so everybody comes out from it with an understanding, sharpened instincts, and even with that, that was not enough. We had to go through the stories, make sure that what we're building, we're not just building to show that we do good stuff, we're building stuff that is commercial. And at the same time, that is enjoyable. I mean, both of them go together in its own way. But the best part of it has been the feedback from people that consume microdrama, from the critics of microdrama as well. And then from a lot of the people that have been reaching out to us after that. We have a lot of co-productions coming up, for instance, with actual Hollywood microdrama platforms. We have a lot of co-productions coming up with
some platform owners. Let's leave it at that.
With some platform owners, and we have a lot of very exciting local stories that we believe. Now, I will tell you that when these figures were growing, I was happy but afraid. Right? Oh, the slide is off. Ha!
No,
let's finish what we are doing. So I will tell you that I was happy, but you know how fear will creep in and say, why did this first one do like this? We could have started with humility, right? But what it has done is that built an additional fire on us, especially since we know we even have better projects coming up, right? And our goal now is to, how are we going to surpass this? How are we going to define that everything that is coming out from what we're doing and for the filmmakers that we work with is not just setting the global quality, but even redefining what storytelling means. And I'll tell you that some of the feedback, I've seen a lot of American consumers, don't worry, I don't know whether I put it here. They will say this is the best that is such joy. For people, they're talking about the chemistry. They said, they didn't need to bully her, to kick her face, to do this or to do that, and a beautiful story was told at the end of the day. So we believe that microdrama, African microdrama, the same way we say K-drama, right? We can say African microdrama, and it's the standards that we set, and it's the standards that we're living by, especially the work that we're doing, that is going to determine what it is in the future. Because one of the biggest things that I believe and we believe is that in the next 2-3 years, the biggest, most talked about global hit is going to be African. And because of phones, we believe it's going to be a microdrama story.
So let's talk about what the data was saying.
Yes.
In the comment section, what did you see in terms of viewer types, audience ranges? What was the feedback like? I know we still got some criticisms, to be sincere.
Yeah.
Some people still trash talked us, but I mean, it is what it is, right? It comes with the terrain.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we'll start from in getting data, we've also gone to the platform. Meanwhile, it's actually on other platforms as well, was multiple licensing, performing well as well on other platforms. So 70 million is just like the base. So some of the data we had first is, first of all, that Nigerians will always turn out, right? We turn out in a way that is almost like we're bullying every other person from commenting, because our comments are just like we just come out. So we love that because some of that interaction, some of the sharing is is actually what helps people, to come back and look at it. So, thank you. Thank you. So, but from the storytelling, we noticed that a lot of people thought that it was AI. How did you see two human beings? I'm very scared. Talking to each other, so many things, and you thought it was AI. So a lot of the younger Gen Zs thought it was AI. That's one of the things. And then going beyond, and then of course, they build communities around these stories. So a lot of them stay, they ask each other, okay, let's join and go and watch something else. That's another thing that we noticed from the comments. And then let's also go down into some of the data from the platform because we spoke to them. So in terms of audience, in terms of the audience base, they're mostly younger
25 to 34?
Yes, around the 25 to the 34 demographic. They were younger millennials and older Gen Zs mostly that interacted with the content, watched the content, liked, interacted with the content. What else we get? A lot of men were also watching the content.
Which was really shocking because they say men don't watch rom-coms. Yeah.
She wants me to use the slide. Yeah, so they say that men don't watch rom-coms, but yes, they say that men don't watch rom-coms, but men were watching rom-coms, and the best part is that they were watching and they were saying that they're watching it. You have to be going through the slide because we don't have time. Anyone that is interested, I will comment. Next slide. Men were watching, men were commenting on the rom-coms, men were sharing. They were coming together as community to say, oh, I can't believe I watched it. An Odogu like me, those things gave me joy. On the last episode, for instance, we have over 4,000 comments on that episode for people celebrating that they watched from episode 1 to 60. So there's a lot of engagements. Okay, so let's just go to the story and some of the not the thinking, but this is actual execution and how we get this job done. So he has 3 days to marry. What's the problem in the story? He has 3 days to marry or he loses his entire inheritance. What's the offer? 6 months of marriage. Yes, micro drama, because we had people and say 50 million naira per month. How? It is micro drama. That's why we didn't put million naira bride. Because how much is 1 million naira? Is it going to make you to stop? So we had to make it the billion naira bride. Listen, in global micro dramas, they're not even doing $1 billion again. Haven't you seen trillion dollar titles? Please be ambitious. Don't worry, it's micro drama. Make sure you deliver, but bring them in. So he offers to give her 50 million naira per month, cover the medical bills of her brother who is in a coma. So the question is, what happens when the contract stops feeling like a contract? These are the characters. Zara, we established from the beginning that she's a fierce person. One of the first things she does is take a knife and she stabs at his tires. Yes. And some of the men were complaining and said, what kind of woman is this? Who is going to take you home? But that is it. And then we have this spoiled heir who is a playboy and whose accounts have been frozen and is now giving out fake bags. His card is no longer working. Next slide, please. So what's the hook? It begins, microdrama does not begin with once upon a time. Exactly. Remember, like for yesterday, I said it takes 3 seconds for somebody to decide whether they are going to skip or go to, sorry. Okay, so should we just go to the Q&A?
Just going to tell you that was also inclusive. So, hello everyone, good morning, and thank you so much for turning up again for day 2 of the NIFS 2026. So because of time, which are way behind, we'll just take the questions as well. But I think first of all, I need to start. There's something I need to ask Oma. So Oma, this is from me. And As I said, I'm a microdrama addict, been for a long time before I actually even became popular. And I'm really very interested, even from a personal point of view. But I'm looking at the crowds, yes, and I totally get what you're saying. I get where you're coming from. But I'm looking at this crowd and I'm like, okay, are we ready for what you're saying? Are we ready to get to where you are? So the question I have is basically, for these people here, for this audience, what would be the ideal thing for us? What language will you be talking to us on for microdrama at this level? Would that be training? Would that be courses to look at? Or is it something your organization, is there something you guys have for people here, which I know that, has anybody done anything on short drama? Even if it's like doing stuff from your phone. So that's my first question, yeah? Then I'll just take questions from the crowd and then, I'll leave it up to you.
Thank you very much.
All right, any other question?
First question is for the crowd. There are some microdrama people here already.
Where are they?
They are.
Oh, okay.
Even one I'm looking at, she's not even waving her hand.
Oprah.
Okay, so can you do a $15,000 microdrama now? Do you have a $15,000 budget for a microdrama now?
I would not advise it.
Exactly, but yes, so what I'm saying, so for people here, so look at us as elementary level, yeah? So what are the things we're supposed to be hearing now? So the next 3 months or by the end of the year, what should we be doing towards, that kind of question,
100%, yes.
Yeah.
First thing you should do is, I know you understand it, but once you do the training, you know that you need to know the technical details. So you definitely need to find out from the training. Our training doesn't take time. In fact, if you have the hours, you're going to be able to go through the virtual videos and you're going to be done very fast. So definitely you need microdrama training. Okay. You need to learn it to fine-tune whatever it is that you have.
Okay, so for people here like me, so 101 is getting a training, yes? Okay, so guys, I've started. Any other question from anybody? Hello, Jamal, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Yeah.
Greetings. My name is Too White, Bedu Poet. You made mention about the production day for the microdrama is around 5 days to 6 days. Okay, so I didn't know that you need to be on set live, to shoot for 5 days or 6 days. What I was thinking is you generate your characters, you do the storyboarding, and then you create everything in your system. So is it that you must be on set with physical characters, act out everything before you now turn it to AI? So I just want to get clarification on that.
Thank you, Too White. That's your mixing AI filmmaking. We do have an AI filmmaking stream because we believe that the AI films that should come out of Africa should be amazing and not the slop that we watch. So for AI filmmaking, no, by all means, you don't need to go on set, but you need to find out what the language for microdrama is, how you're using the assets you have, how you're setting the environment. There is a little tweak as well in script writing for AI films, and all those things are necessary for microdrama. So for AI filmmaking, it's a different stream. You're on one of them, right? He's on our AI filmmaking stream, so just look out for.
Sorry, can you please raise your hand? Who's the person that is the AI? Are you the one? Oh, okay. Okay. I think there's someone here, so we'll have barely less than 20 seconds to go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Malcolm, audiovisual expert, and my question.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry. Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to ask about what type of assets do I need to give you in case I have long-form content and I want it into small micro dramas, and then also what's the process of the script treatment in that kind of setting?
The process of what?
Script treatment.
Treatment.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, when so you have a finished project, is that where you're coming from? Oh, definitely. If you have a finished project, you can submit it on our platform and say, okay, we have it, where we ask for a synopsis, a teaser, or a trailer to go through it. And then if it's great, we're going to ask for a screening. And after the screening, then we can determine. But you need practically everything you need if you're submitting a film to a platform. We do have our specs for the platform, the technical specs, sound specs. We have QC and QA things that you must meet before we can submit your content. So yes, that is available for sure.
Okay, thank you, Omar. So unfortunately, time is up, and we can't really take any other question. And any more word from you, Omar or Elijah? Anything before we sign out?
I would say let's make African microdramas.
Okay, that's nice. Please, a hand of applause for Omar, please. And Omar and Elijah are still around. If you have more questions, please meet them one-on-one to ask your questions. Thank you so much. Because of time, we're quickly jumping to our next session, which revolves around global storytelling. So basically, they're looking at how to get our stories across borders, especially with this streaming era. So to do this is the TransPerfect team. Are they here? Cloud Mamba, are you here? So can we please come forward? And this session will be moderated by Godwin Zekwe. So we have Claude Mamba, the General Manager, TransPerfect. We have Malcolm Mawa from TransPerfect as well. And then we have, sorry, I think I might murder his name, Jax Van Hollebeck, the Director for Development Africa, TransPerfect. Can they please come forward? And then please, Godwin, come forward as well. Thank you. Please give them a warm welcome as they come on stage for this session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so you're welcome to this session. We're here with Malcolm, Jack, and Claude. We're looking at films traveling beyond borders. And before we begin to have conversations around that, Claude will be making a presentation briefly, and which will guide us as we have this conversation. So just put up the slide for him so that he can take that quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And first and foremost, I would like to thank the organizers of this summit. It's a good thing, good platform for for knowledge and networking and all of that. So we're going to be talking about films without borders, global storytelling in the streaming era. Basically, in those days, what we know that movies generally they are premiere in theaters. That's been the story. That's been the legacy. But these days, films can travel, at the speed of light. There are no more borders as far as films are concerned. That's what we're going to see today. How do we ensure that our movies can travel, as far as possible? I've heard a lot of stories around that. A lot of people have spoken, and good ideas on how to ensure that. So we are going to just to contribute to that topic, to that conversation. Next slide, please. So once upon a time, films traveled through theaters. Today, they travel through algorithms. Somebody, I think is a philosopher, Professor Harari. He said that it used to be God who determines our destiny. And then from there, we moved on into humanism. It is man, it is what I feel that will determine my destiny. Today, algorithm determines what you're going to watch, what you're going to eat, how you're going to move around. The algorithm knows you probably more than yourself. Recently, I was invited by my friend Bikia for a movie premiere, a movie, Ruth and Naomi. Fantastic. But that's what, we are used to. But these days, your movie can premiere in 190 countries instantly. Why? Because when you have your movie on Netflix or one of those platforms, people can see it at the same time across the entire world. Today, we know that Nigerian movies are enjoyed across Africa and around the world. You remember Black Book, Jago Jago. These are great movies coming from Nigeria here, and they traveled around the world because of the streaming platform. So global stories like Squid Game that have traveled, they traveled outside Korea. So local story can have a global resonance. And that's what you're going to see today. How do you ensure that your local story has global resonance? The question is, how do we ensure that a story that, that we have here can travel beyond the borders where it was created? What magic do we need to do? How do we craft the story? How do we ensure that what we have as ingredients in that story is what is going to make the story travel around the world? Next slide, please. Audiences are highly tolerant of linguistic differences, but authenticity and vulnerability can win people's hearts. I'll give you an example. A movie called The Champ. This is, I'm sure most people here were not born when this movie came out. The Champ. The Champ follows the story of a former boxing champion. So the guy, was made a lot of money when he was a champion. And then he left boxing. He became a gambler and all of that. So lost all his money. But then at the same time, he had a child with this woman. So he had no money. So he decided to go back into boxing. So he prepared himself. He was training with his son. And then on the day of the boxing match, went to the ring and fought really, really, fiercely. At the end of the day, he was able to defeat the opponent. But what happened? When people were celebrating him, he was suffering. He had some bleeding, internal bleeding, and then he collapsed when people were celebrating him. Before they could call on to a doctor, the guy had died. But the most painful part is when his son was crying, "Champ, Daddy, Champ." I mean, you watch that movie 5 times you cry. So what happened there? Why do you cry when you see such a movie? Because of vulnerability. So one thing that really that you must consider when you are doing your movie is there anything that make people vulnerable here? We are used to see when you have a movie, the main character, will survive all ordeals and all of that. But when the main character dies, how do people receive it? So vulnerability is very, very important. Authenticity. Let's look at a movie called The Samurai. Samurai was done by with this guy. What's the guy? This guy's name? Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. Before doing this movie, he traveled to Japan and spent about 6 months with the real samurai to be able to understand how the culture of samurai, how they live, how they interact with them within themselves. That's what we call authenticity. So if you see the movie, even if you're not a samurai, even if you have not been in Japan, but you know that this man knew what he was doing, you could feel the Japanese culture passing through or coming through, because the movie was put in that particular environment where the culture of the samurai was exhibited. Cultural misreads can generate controversies. Now, if you don't understand a particular culture very well, and you want to portray it on the screen, you may have problems. How many of you may remember a movie called Gangs of Lagos, which was directed by Jade Ushiberu? I mean, the controversies that were around that movie, to the point that there was a lawsuit. The elders of the environment, felt like their culture was betrayed, and then it was a big deal. It had to be settled out of court. So this is what happened when, the culture is probably misrepresented. So you have to understand that culture is very deep. So one way of ensuring that your movie has relevance is when it's deeply soaked into that culture. We are going to see what you need to do to be able to achieve that. Next slide, please. Or before we even go to next slide, Le Mandat was done by Sembène Ousmane, the Senegalese filmmaker. So this, this title means money order. The guy was living, the main character, the story of a guy living in Dakar in the 50s. And then he got a money order from his nephew in France. But this money, he never touched it. The bureaucracy and then illiteracy. And then, so that didn't allow him to get his money. So you could follow that story. You feel the pain for the man because he was illiterate. He was unable to fill some papers and then get to the right office to get the money that his nephew sent to him. And that's what you call, when you get into the culture to see illiteracy coming through there. Next slide, please. So we have what we call our model of global storytelling. Number one is people, making sure that the people that you want to portray, you must include the local voices early in the process. What do you mean by including the local voices? Let's take the gangs of Lagos. If you want to understand, you want to portray that particular culture, you need to go and talk to the people, sit with the custodian of that culture, ask questions, and then trace that story probably 100, 200 years from today. Understand where the nuances of that culture. Then so you will now know that, okay, this culture is like this. The same thing with places. You need to go to the right place for you to be able to get that culture. Don't get it from a second hand. There's a movie which was here, G.I. Jane. G.I. Jane featured Demi Moore. She wanted to portray the kind of difficulties women go through when they go into combat unit in the army. And she wanted to get into the Marines. So for her to portray the kind of training the Marines go through, she had to be embedded into a Marine unit. And she spent like 4 or 5 months there training with the Marines to be able to portray the kind of training those people go. So places is very important. So the people first, go to the people, the custodian of that particular thing that you want to portray. Sit with them, ask questions, and include it in your scripting from day one. Because people are going to track your script. Does it portray, is it a reflection of what you are talking about? Then the place, as we mentioned, you need to go to the place, get into the place where that particular culture resides, so that, or the thing, whatever you want to, the message you want to pass, get to the very people who own that particular trait of culture. And then the last thing is ensure that you consider perspective. There's what you call global themes, things like love, things like survival, things like betrayal. These themes are all over the world. They are the same in every culture. If you betray someone in Japan, you have betrayed someone. It's the same thing as betraying someone in South Africa or in Brazil. So